It was smaller than a thumb, shivering in the vet's palm. Eyes barely open, voice like a faint squeak. No one had ever seen a puppy this tiny before. At first, the vet thought it was just weak, until he leaned closer and noticed something that froze his heart. This wasn't just a runt. It was a genetic mystery nature had never revealed before. What the doctor discovered left everyone speechless. Stay till the end, because what happens next will leave you in tears. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Rain poured down in steady sheets, soaking the deserted alley behind a row of old apartment buildings. The sound of dripping gutters mixed with the faint hum of traffic far away. But through the noise, a single fragile whimper broke the rhythm, soft, desperate, and nearly drowned by the storm. A young woman named Lena stopped mid-step, her umbrella trembling in her hand. She turned toward the sound, eyes narrowing into the darkness between the trash bins. "Hello?" she called out softly, her voice barely audible against the rain. No response, just another weak, broken cry. She knelt down, the cold water soaking through her jeans, and carefully moved a soggy cardboard box closer to the streetlight. Her heart clenched. Inside lay the tiniest creature she had ever seen. A newborn puppy no bigger than her thumb, drenched, shivering, and gasping for air. Its fur clung to its fragile body, its eyes barely open, and its tiny chest rose and fell like it was fighting for every breath. "Oh my God," Lena whispered, her voice breaking. She cupped her hands around it, feeling how light it was and almost weightless. For a terrifying second, she thought it wasn't breathing at all. Then a faint squeak escaped its mouth. It was alive. She tore off her scarf, wrapped the trembling puppy gently, and pressed it close to her chest for warmth. "Hang in there, little one," she whispered, her pulse racing. The rain blurred her vision as she ran toward her car, shielding the fragile bundle with her body. Inside, she turned on the heater full blast and placed the puppy on the seat, wrapping it tighter. Its eyes fluttered open for a moment, bright, blue, and pleading. Something about that gaze made her heart twist in ways she couldn't explain. Lena didn't know where she was going yet, but her instincts screamed one thing. This tiny creature wouldn't survive the night without help. She grabbed her phone with trembling fingers and searched desperately for the nearest emergency vet clinic. "Hold on," she whispered again, starting the engine. "I won't let you die." Outside, thunder rolled, but in her arms, hope had just begun to breathe. Rain poured relentlessly as Emma clutched the fragile creature in her trembling hands, wrapping it in her scarf to shield it from the cold. The puppy was barely breathing, its tiny chest rising and falling in faint, uneven pulses. She could feel the fragile heartbeat against her palm, like the flutter of a dying butterfly.
"Hold on, little one."
"Please," she whispered, running through the dark streets toward the only veterinary clinic still open late at night. The glowing red, emergency vet sign flickered ahead, a beacon in the storm. Emma burst through the door, soaked and gasping. "Help, please, he's dying," she cried, holding out the trembling bundle. The receptionist froze for a moment, then called out, "Dr. Harris, we need you now." Within seconds, the vet appeared, his white coat flaring as he rushed forward. When he peeled back the damp scarf, even he couldn't hide his shock. The puppy fit entirely in his hand. "Dear God," he murmured. "Is this real?" The staff gathered around, their faces reflecting disbelief and sorrow. "It's alive," Emma pleaded. "Please, you have to save him." Dr. Harris nodded quickly, slipping into professional focus. "Oxygen mask, tiny size, stat," he ordered. The assistant scrambled. Emma stood frozen, watching as the vet placed the miniature mask over the puppy's snout. The faintest squeak escaped it, a sound so weak yet so determined it silenced everyone in the room. Minutes felt like hours as Dr. Harris adjusted equipment designed for animals 10 times larger. "He's underweight by impossible margins," he whispered, eyes narrowing at the monitor. "But he's fighting." Emma pressed a hand over her heart, tears mixing with the rain still clinging to her cheeks. Finally, the heartbeat stabilized, slow, fragile, but steady. Dr. Harris exhaled. "He'll make it through the night," he said softly. Emma smiled through her tears, whispering, "Thank you." But deep down, even the doctor knew this was no ordinary puppy. Something beyond science had just entered their world. Morning sunlight filtered through the clinic's glass windows as Dr. Harris stepped into the examination room, coffee in one hand, clipboard in the other. The smallest patient he had ever seen lay nestled inside a padded incubator. Even after 40 years of veterinary work, emergency rescues, surgeries, field recoveries, he had never encountered anything like this. The puppy, no bigger than his thumb, was sleeping peacefully, its fur like fine gray dust shimmering in the light. Every breath it took was a quiet miracle. Emma sat beside the incubator, eyes red from exhaustion. "He didn't move all night," she whispered. "But he's still breathing." Dr. Harris leaned closer, his expression softening. "You did well bringing him in," he said gently. "Any longer outside and he wouldn't have survived." He adjusted the small oxygen line, checking vitals that flickered faintly on the monitor. The numbers didn't make sense. His heart rate was abnormally fast but steady. His temperature was slightly above normal canine range, yet his blood oxygen was perfect. Dr. Harris frowned, jotting notes. "This isn't just a premature pup," he muttered under his breath. "His physiology's different." He decided to perform a closer physical exam. Under the magnifier, the puppy's skin revealed micro-patterns, tiny symmetrical ridges across its chest and legs. Almost like natural armor. He blinked, unsure if fatigue was playing tricks on him. When he lightly touched the puppy's paw, it responded, gripping his finger with surprising strength. The reaction startled him. "This little one's a fighter," he said with quiet admiration. Emma smiled weakly. "He has to be. He deserves a name, doesn't he?" she whispered. Dr. Harris thought for a moment, eyes still fixed on the brave creature in the incubator. "Dusty," he finally said. Small, tough, and impossible to ignore. As the two shared a faint smile, the monitors pulsed in steady rhythm beside them. For the first time in hours, peace filled the room. Yet behind the calm, Dr. Harris couldn't shake the feeling that Dusty's story had only just begun, and that fate had chosen him for a reason far greater than saving one small life. The first night had been a battle for survival, but by dawn the clinic buzzed with disbelief. Dusty had made it. Against every medical prediction, the tiny puppy clung to life, his chest rising in slow, stubborn rhythm. Dr. Harris entered quietly, coffee forgotten in his hand, as he watched the little creature twitch its nose and stretch weakly under the warm incubator light. "You're not giving up, are you?" he whispered, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Emma returned that morning with fresh blankets and a hopeful heart. She knelt beside the glass and whispered softly, "Hi, little Dusty." The puppy turned his head as if recognizing her voice. Dr. Harris noticed it too. That kind of responsiveness. "Shouldn't happen this early," he murmured, half to himself. Dusty's eyes fluttered open for the first time, bright, deep blue, full of uncanny focus. Over the next few days, Dusty's recovery amazed everyone. He ate tiny drops of formula through a syringe and whimpered whenever Emma left the room. Nurses began stopping by just to see him. "He's like a miracle in fur," one said, watching the pup lift its head for the first time. But Dr. Harris's scientific mind refused to settle. The pup's vitals were stronger than any premature canine on record. His body temperature was perfectly regulated, his reflexes far too advanced. Late one night after the clinic had closed, Dr. Harris sat alone by Dusty's incubator, reviewing notes under dim light. "Every measurement says you shouldn't be alive," he muttered. "And yet, here you are." Dusty let out a faint squeak, pawing weakly against the glass. Dr. Harris smiled. "All right, little one. Let's see what secret you're hiding." He didn't know then that the mystery surrounding Dusty wasn't about how he lived, but why. And soon that why would challenge everything Dr. Harris thought he knew about science, nature, and miracles themselves. Days turned into weeks, and Dusty's recovery continued to defy logic. He grew stronger, but not larger. His body stayed impossibly small, light as a handful of feathers, yet his movements became sharper, more precise. He would lift his tiny head at the sound of approaching footsteps, tracking voices like he understood every word. Dr. Harris began noticing strange patterns in his behavior, responses that no normal puppy should show. One morning, as Emma entered the room humming softly, Dusty tilted his head and mimicked the rhythm with tiny squeaks. The staff laughed in disbelief, but Dr. Harris froze, watching closely. "That's not coincidence," he murmured. Later that day, when the lights flickered during a power surge, Dusty whimpered seconds before it happened. It was as though he could sense electrical changes in the air. Dr. Harris started documenting everything. He kept a journal filled with strange readings. Dusty's heartbeat would fluctuate when people were upset, and stabilize when calm voices surrounded him. "He's reacting to emotions," the vet whispered one night, staring at the monitor. "Almost like he can feel our energy." Emma smiled faintly. Maybe he's just special, but deep inside, Dr. Harris knew it was more than that. Dusty's temperature never varied, his breathing never faltered, and he didn't seem to need as much rest as normal pups. "It's as if his body's compensating for something," he muttered to himself. When he tried to take blood samples, Dusty didn't flinch. Instead, the puppy pressed his paw on Harris's finger, looking straight into his eyes with a calmness that sent chills down his spine. That night, the vet couldn't sleep. He replayed every reading, every anomaly, every impossible sign. "What are you, little one?" he whispered into the darkness. Dusty curled up in his incubator, lifted his tiny head, eyes glinting faintly under the soft blue glow. For a moment, Dr. Harris could swear those eyes held understanding, an awareness beyond any creature he'd ever met. Something extraordinary was unfolding, and it was only the beginning. By the end of the month, Dr. Harris had run every standard test he knew, and none could explain Dusty. The pup was perfectly healthy, yet his body refused to grow. His organs functioned at near mechanical precision, and his reflexes rivaled those of adult dogs. Every day brought more questions and fewer answers. Finally, Dr. Harris decided there was only one thing left to do: an internal scan. "Let's get an X-ray," he told Emma quietly. "Maybe it'll tell us what biology can't." Emma watched nervously as Dusty was placed on the small imaging table. The machine hummed to life, filling the room with a cold blue glow. Dusty didn't struggle. He simply stared up at Dr. Harris with calm, trusting eyes. "Hold still, little one," the vet whispered, his hand gently over the pup's chest. The monitor beeped steadily, filling with data lines. Then, the image appeared. At first, Dr. Harris thought it was a reflection glitch. A faint metallic shimmer pulsed inside Dusty's chest, right where the heart should be. He leaned closer, adjusting the contrast. The shape became clearer, a tiny, perfectly symmetrical object embedded deep within tissue. "That's impossible," he muttered, his pulse quickening. "There's no way this is natural." Emma frowned. "What is it?" Dr. Harris hesitated. "It looks like a capsule, but organic, like metal and flesh fused together." His voice trembled with both awe and fear. He printed the scan, holding it up to the light, staring at the image of a creature that defied all known biology. "Could it be a birth defect?" Emma asked. He shook his head. "No, this was placed there purposefully." Silence filled the room. Dusty let out a soft whimper, pawing weakly at the vet's hand as if sensing his unease. Harris swallowed hard. "We need exploratory surgery," he said finally. "Whatever's inside him doesn't belong there." As the clinic lights dimmed that night, the X-ray image glowed faintly on the wall behind him, a haunting silhouette of something far beyond nature, waiting to reveal its truth. The surgical room was quiet except for the hum of machinery and the rhythmic beeping of Dusty's heart monitor. Dr. Harris stood over the operating table, masked and gloved, his hands trembling slightly. He had done thousands of surgeries before, but never one that felt like this. "We'll go in carefully," he murmured to the nurse. "Minimal incision. We just need to see what that object is." Dusty lay still, anesthetized, his impossibly small body hooked to tiny wires and tubes that seemed almost too large for him. The first incision was barely half an inch. Under the bright lights, his tissue looked different, more reflective, almost translucent. Dr. Harris frowned. "That's not normal muscle tone," he whispered. As he reached deeper, the monitor gave a sudden beep. Then another. The rhythm quickened. Dusty's heartbeat synchronized perfectly with the pulse of the surgical laser, matching its every flash. "Cut power!" the nurse cried. The room froze. The lights flickered, monitors spiking. "He's reacting to the equipment," Harris said, stunned. "His body's resonating with the current." The laser shut off, but the beeping continued. Steady, sharp, almost purposeful. Dusty's small chest rose and fell faster now, his body trembling under the light. "He's conscious," the nurse gasped. "That's impossible. He's sedated." Dr. Harris backed away, eyes wide. "He's fighting it," he murmured. The readings on the screen changed shape, forming symmetrical patterns, repeating sequences like coded signals. For a moment, the team could only stare as the monitors displayed something eerily intelligent. "What on earth?" one of the nurses whispered. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything went still. The heartbeat slowed. The light stabilized. Dusty's tiny body relaxed, his breathing shallow but steady. The monitors returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Dr. Harris removed his gloves, shaken to the core. "No one touches him again tonight," he said firmly. As he looked down at the motionless puppy, a thought chilled him to his bones. Dusty wasn't just reacting to the machine. He was communicating with it. Dr. Harris didn't sleep that night. He replayed every moment of the surgery in his mind. The way Dusty's heartbeat had matched the machine, the strange patterns that flickered across the monitor. None of it belonged in any medical textbook. By morning, his curiosity had turned into obsession. He needed to know what that metallic shape inside Dusty really was. At dawn, he carefully prepared another scan, this time using a different imaging system with higher resolution. Emma stood beside him, clutching her coffee, eyes full of worry. "Are you sure this is safe?" she asked softly. "He's been through so much." Dr. Harris nodded, though uncertainty flickered behind his calm expression. "I just need to look closer. If that thing's hurting him, I'll know." The machine hummed to life, projecting new layers of Dusty's anatomy onto the screen. As the image sharpened, Dr. Harris's eyes widened. Nestled beneath the small dog's shoulder blade was a thin, oval object, barely visible to the naked eye, but too symmetrical, too deliberate to be natural. "Zoom in," he whispered, the pixels enlarged, revealing engraved etchings, numbers, and faint lettering. Emma gasped. "Is that writing?" Dr. Harris froze. "It's a serial code." His fingers trembled as he leaned closer. "And not veterinary grade?" "This is industrial, maybe even military." He hesitated, then reached for the scanner. The moment he brought it near Dusty's shoulder, the device beeped, loud and sharp. Data flashed across the screen. "Chip detected, external source ID, restricted access." Dr. Harris's heart pounded. "This isn't a normal microchip," he whispered. "It's encrypted." Emma looked at him, terrified. "What does that mean?" Before he could answer, the clinic lights flickered. The computer froze, then rebooted itself, displaying a single message on the monitor. "Unauthorized scan detected. Alert sent." For the first time, Dr. Harris felt true fear. Someone, somewhere now knew they had found Dusty, and they were coming. The clinic was eerily quiet that morning. Dr. Harris sat at his desk, staring at the frozen computer screen. The words "alert sent" still glowed faintly across the monitor. He hadn't told Emma yet. He didn't want to scare her, but his gut told him they were no longer alone in this discovery. He glanced toward the examination room where Dusty slept peacefully, unaware that his secret had already reached the outside world. By mid-morning, the front doors swung open with a sharp metallic click. 2 men stepped inside, black suits, badges glinting under the fluorescent light. "Dr. Harris?" one of them asked in a clipped, emotionless tone. "We're here on behalf of the Department of Biological Research." Emma froze near the counter. "Is this about Dusty?" she whispered. The taller agent gave a curt nod. "You've recovered a specimen of interest. We'll need to take it into custody immediately." Dr. Harris stood, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. "Specimen? He's a living animal, not an object." The agent's eyes were cold. "That animal is government property. You've accessed restricted biometric data. That was a mistake." The second agent opened a briefcase, producing official papers and a small containment carrier lined with sterilized padding. "Please cooperate, doctor. This is classified." Harris clenched his fists. "Classified or not, you're not taking him without explanation." The agent sighed, exchanging a glance with his partner. "Fine. You deserve to know the truth." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "That puppy was never born naturally. It's part of a discontinued government program, Project Halo. We thought they were all gone." Emma's breath hitched. "Project what?" Before they could answer further, the containment carrier beeped softly. Dusty stirred inside the room, his small form trembling as if sensing the tension. Dr. Harris stepped protectively toward the door. "Whatever this is," he said quietly, "you'll have to go through me first." And for the first time, the seasoned vet found himself standing against forces far bigger than anything he'd ever imagined, all for a creature no larger than his palm. Dr. Harris stood frozen in the middle of the clinic as two men in black suits entered, flashing government IDs. Their expressions were calm, but their presence carried an unspoken weight. "Dr. Jonathan Harris?" one of them asked. "You recently scanned a specimen labeled Dusty." The vet hesitated before nodding. "Yes. He's a rescue puppy. What's going on?" The taller agent glanced at his tablet, then looked up. "That rescue puppy is classified property. We need him immediately." Emma stepped between them, clutching Dusty protectively. "Property? He's alive. He's not some machine you can take." Her voice cracked, echoing through the sterile hallway. The shorter agent sighed. "You don't understand, ma'am. That animal is part of a government bio-research project, one that was terminated years ago." Dr. Harris frowned. "Terminated?" "Yes," the agent said grimly. "It was called Project Helix. The goal was to engineer micro-canines capable of detecting biological threats, diseases, toxins, explosives, before they reached humans. But the embryos failed, all except one." He looked down at the trembling bundle in Emma's arms. "That one." The room fell silent. Harris's mind raced. "So Dusty was created?" The agent nodded. "Grown artificially, designed to sense microscopic changes in the environment. He's not supposed to exist." Emma's voice shook. "Then why abandon him?" The agent's jaw tightened. "Because the project was shut down after ethical violations. He was presumed destroyed." Dr. Harris took a step forward. "He's alive, and he's not dangerous. You can't just take him like evidence." The taller agent's expression softened. "Doctor, you saved him, but now you need to let him go. He wasn't meant for the world." Dusty whimpered softly, eyes meeting Harris's. For a moment, neither man nor dog moved, just silent understanding. Harris whispered, "Maybe he wasn't meant for the world, but maybe the world needs him." The agent's demand hung in the air like a thundercloud. Dr. Harris stood motionless, his heart pounding as Dusty whimpered softly in his arms. Emma clutched the edge of the counter, tears in her eyes. "You can't just take him," she said, her voice trembling. "He's not a piece of equipment, he's alive. He trusts us." The taller agent sighed, visibly conflicted. "Ma'am, this isn't up for debate. That animal holds classified genetic data. Keeping him here endangers everyone." Dr. Harris finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. "Endangers? He's barely the size of a teacup. The only thing he's endangered is my sleep schedule." A faint, humorless smile flickered across Emma's face, but the tension didn't break. The agent stepped forward, hand outstretched. "Doctor, you've done your part. Please, let us finish this." "No," Harris said, pulling Dusty close to his chest. "He's not your experiment anymore. He's a life, one that deserves more than being dissected and forgotten." His words cracked with emotion. For a man known for his calm professionalism, it was the first time anyone had seen him truly angry. The shorter agent exchanged a glance with his partner. "Doctor, I understand how you feel, but you're standing in violation of a federal order. This creature is property of no one," Harris interrupted sharply. "He's more than data. He feels. He learns. He looks into your eyes like he understands you." His voice softened. "Tell me, can your government say the same about itself?" Silence filled the clinic. Even the machines seemed to quiet. The agents hesitated, not out of authority but conscience. Dusty whimpered again, sensing the rising emotion in the room. Finally, Harris turned away, whispering, "If taking him means killing him, then you'll have to go through me." His voice broke, tears glinting in his eyes. "Because I won't let you destroy the one miracle I've ever seen." In that moment, the agents realized this wasn't just a vet protecting a dog. It was a man protecting hope itself. The tension in the clinic reached its breaking point. The agents stood frozen, unsure whether to act or listen to the trembling man before them. Dusty's small body shivered in Dr. Harris's hands, his faint heartbeat echoing through the room. Then suddenly Dusty whimpered, a weak, broken sound that made Emma gasp. His breathing faltered, his paws twitching as his body went limp. "He's crashing!" Harris shouted, instincts taking over. The agent stepped back as he rushed to the table, laying Dusty down. "Stay with me, little one," he pleaded, his voice shaking. The monitor flickered wildly, heart rate dropping. Emma grabbed the oxygen tube, tears streaming. "He was fine this morning," she cried. "What's happening?" Harris pressed his stethoscope to the puppy's chest. "His heart's giving out," he whispered. "He's too small. His body's shutting down." He began compressions, his trembling fingers pressing gently on Dusty's ribcage. "Come on," he murmured. "You fought every day of your life. Don't stop now." The agents exchanged uneasy glances. The taller one whispered, "Maybe we should call for help." But Harris shook his head fiercely. "No one else touches him. He deserves peace, not more wires and tests." Sweat rolled down his forehead as he worked desperately, whispering words that sounded more like prayers than commands. Dusty's chest rose faintly, then stilled again. For a moment, everything went silent. Harris froze, eyes wide with disbelief. "No, please." His hands trembled as he whispered, "You can't leave yet." Then, with one final fragile breath, Dusty's eyes fluttered open. He looked at Harris, really looked, and gave a soft, almost human sigh. The monitor steadied for a heartbeat, then went flat. Dr. Harris bowed his head, tears falling onto the cold metal table. "You saved everyone but yourself," he whispered hoarsely. Emma wept quietly beside him. The agents lowered their gaze, their mission forgotten. For the first time, the clinic felt empty, not because of the loss of a patient, but because a piece of something pure had left the world. Minutes passed in unbearable silence. The steady beep of the heart monitor had vanished, replaced by a flat, haunting tone that filled the room. Emma sobbed quietly, her hands covering her face. Dr. Harris stood frozen beside Dusty's still body, unable to accept what his eyes were seeing. "He fought harder than anything I've ever known," he whispered, his voice trembling. "He didn't deserve this." The agents exchanged a somber glance, lowering their heads out of respect. It felt like the world itself had gone still, as if even the rain outside had stopped falling. Then something unexpected happened. The monitor flickered. Just once, then again. A faint pulse registered on the screen. "No, that's not possible," Harris gasped. He leaned closer, pressing 2 fingers against Dusty's chest. There it was, the weakest yet undeniable heartbeat. "He's breathing!" Emma cried. "He's alive." Dusty's tiny chest rose again, but this time it wasn't just survival. His eyes opened, glowing faintly beneath the light, reflecting a strange warmth as if energy pulsed from deep within. The agent stepped closer, speechless. The smaller of the two whispered, "Doctor, look at the monitor." The pattern of Dusty's heartbeat wasn't random anymore. It formed steady, rhythmic intervals, and suddenly an alert flashed on the screen linked to Dr. Harris's vitals. His own heartbeat had gone irregular. Harris staggered back, confused. "What?" Dusty let out a weak whimper and pressed his paw against the doctor's hand. A shock ran through him, not pain, but a strange clarity. His vision steadied, his chest eased. The nurse watching nearby gasped. "Doctor, your heart rate, it's normal again." Tears welled in Harris's eyes. He saved me," he whispered, staring down at the frail creature that had given everything. Dusty's tail twitched once, just barely, before his body finally went still. The monitor flatlined again, but this time, no one cried. Emma and the agent stood in reverent silence, because somehow they all knew Dusty hadn't died in vain. He had fulfilled his purpose by saving the man who had saved him. A year passed, but the memory of that night never faded. The clinic had changed. New paint on the walls, new equipment, new faces. Yet one space remained untouched, the small glass incubator where Dusty had once fought for his life. Dr. Harris often stopped there during late-night shifts, staring at the empty bed, his heart heavy with both sorrow and gratitude. "You were the smallest miracle I ever met," he would whisper, "and the biggest lesson I ever learned." After Dusty's death, the truth spread quietly through official channels. The government shut down Project Helix for good, but not before extracting data from Dusty's unique biology. What they found astonished the medical world: microorganic enzymes capable of detecting heart failure and diseases before any existing technology could. Within months, a new generation of medical sensors was developed, inspired by Dusty's cellular structure. They called the project D1 in his honor. Dr. Harris was invited to the unveiling of the first prototype, a medical chip smaller than a grain of rice, capable of saving thousands of lives. As he held it under the light, it glowed faintly blue, just like Dusty's eyes once had. "He didn't just save me," Harris murmured softly. "He's saving everyone." Emma stood beside him, tears glistening. "He was never an experiment," she said. "He was a guardian." Later, Harris returned to the clinic, walking to a small brass plaque mounted beside the incubator. The engraving read, "In memory of Dusty, the puppy who was small enough to hold but big enough to change the world." He placed a fresh white rose beneath it and smiled faintly. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, filling the room with warm golden light. For a brief moment, he could almost hear a faint squeak. Soft, familiar, full of life. And somewhere deep inside, he knew, Dusty's heart was still beating, not in silence but in every life he continued to save.